right, so we are about halfway through chapter 6. We're covering 6 total lessons. We've already covered the first 3, 6.1 through 6.3. We've been talking about angles of polygons, right? A polygon is a two-dimensional closed shape that's made up of straight edges that all connect at their endpoints, like a square or a rectangle or a pentagon or a decagon or any number of sides, right? It can go up to 1,000,000 if we wanted it to. That'd be kind of hard to figure, but we're trying to figure out, we're working with the measure of the sum of all the interior angles of each interior angle, the sum of all exterior angles, and the measure of each exterior angle of any polygon. It just depends on the number of sides that polygon has. So I did go ahead and repeat this little grid that I've given you guys previously in notes. All right, so for interior angles, interior angle measure for any polygon, if we wanted to find out what all the interior angles add up to, we use n minus 2 times 180. N is the number of sides that the shape has. So if it's a decagon, that's 10, so you'd use 10 minus 2 times 180, 8 times 180, and that would give you the total sum of all the interior angles. If we wanted to know each interior angle, first of all, they all have to be the same size. It has to be a regular symmetrical polygon, right? It can't all be weird different sizes. And we would just take the sum and divide it by the number of sides. Okay? For exterior angles, angles outside of a shape, they always add up to 360 degrees. Doesn't matter how many sides your shape has, if it has 3 or if it has 53. The exterior angles will always add up to 360, and if you want to know what each exterior angle is, you just take 360 and divide it by the number of sides. So that's all we're using for this lesson, basically. All right, so starting with number 1. This is 10 questions total. The first 5 are multiple choice. The last 5 are not. Find the measure of each exterior angle of a regular 56gon, so a polygon that has 56 sides. Each exterior angle is 360 degrees divided by the number of sides. So 360 divided by 56, right? And if we use our calculator for that, where did I just put my, it's on the right paper. It's going to be a decimal, obviously. You can't evenly divide that. 360 divided by 56, we get 6.4, blah, 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 blah. And it says to round to the nearest tenth. So that would be 6.4b. All right, number 2, given that BE is 2x plus 6. Let me see in here. Okay, BE is 2x plus 6, ED is 5x minus 12, and parallelogram ABCD, find BD, right? So here's a picture of that parallelogram. BE is this half, right? It's 2x plus 6. ED is this half, it's 5x minus 12. Remember, in a parallelogram, diagonals bisect each other. They cut each other in half, which means that this top half is the same size as this bottom half. So 2x plus 6 has to be the same size as 5x minus 12. So to solve for x, we need to set them equal to each other. But it didn't ask us to solve for x. It asked us to find the measure of BD, which is this entire thing. So we're going to solve for x, plug it back in, and then whatever one of these halves is, we're just going to double it, okay? So minus the smallest x, I get 6 equals 3x minus 12. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. 18 equals 3x, and then divide by 3. So I get x equals 6. So if I plug that into one of these measures up here, let's say we plug it into this one, 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. So one of these is 18, which means the other has to be 18. So the entire length of BD is 36J. Because diagonals bisect each other in a polygon. Number 3. If the slope of PQ is 2/3 and the slope of QR is -1/2, find the slope of SR so that PQRS is a parallelogram. All right, whenever I get a problem like this, I'm a visual learner. I know not everybody is. I am. So I always draw out a quadrilateral, a parallelogram, right? PQRS. It doesn't really matter where P starts, if it's here, 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 here. It doesn't matter because the letters are still going to go in the same order. So I always start here, P, Q, R, S. And you just have to write the letters in the order they're written around the outside of the shape. Okay, so it says PQ has a slope of 2/3. So the side across from it in a parallelogram has to be parallel. It has to have the same slope. This side is SR. And it says find the slope of SR so that this is a parallelogram. So the slope of SR has to be the same as the slope of PQ, which is 2/3. Okay, so our answer here is A, 2/3. Number 3 is A. Number 4. Don't overcomplicate these problems. Some of them, take a few steps. Some of them don't. So just think about what you've learned in this chapter. Find the measure of angle W in this parallelogram. All right? Angles across from each other, opposite angles in a parallelogram, are congruent. Angles next to each other in a parallelogram, adjacent angles, are supplementary. So here, angle W and angle S are opposite each other, which means they're equal. So I'm going to set 2x minus 1 equal to x plus 16. I can solve for x and then plug it back in to find the measure of W. So minus x on both sides, I get x minus 1 equals 16. Add 1 to both sides, x equals 17. Doesn't ask me to find x, it asks me to find the measure of angle W. So 2 times 17 minus 1. 2 times 17 is 34. 34 minus 1 is 33. G, 33 degrees. And if I'm going too fast or you want me to do more of these later, let me know. We will be having our normal Q&A sessions this week. The benchmarks are over, so you can look forward to that. Number 5, find the sum of all the interior angles. So sum of interior angles, if we go back up here to our little sheet, interior angles sum, we're going to use this guy right here. N minus 2 times 180, where n is the number of sides, right? Oops, number 5. All right, so find the sum measures of interior angles of a 48gon. So the number of sides is 48, so we're going to use n minus 2 times 180. N is 48, so 48 minus 2 is 46 times 180. That's going to tell us the sum of all the measures. So if I use my calculator, it's going to be a big number. 46 times 180, 8,280, which is C. All right, that's the first 5. Those are all multiple choice. The second half here of our review, none of these are multiple choice. You actually have to show your work. I'm going to switch colors here. All right, number 6, find x. Well, how do we do that, and what kind of shape is this, right? It doesn't really matter that it's not all symmetrical and all the angles aren't the same. This is a huge obtuse angle. This is an acute angle. This angle is different from either one of these, and it's not the same as this. This is not a parallelogram. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be a parallelogram, right? We just want to know how many sides it has. Okay, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So I can figure out what all the interior angles are going to add up to if I know that it has 4 sides. The sum of interior angles is n minus 2 times 180, right? And the number of sides is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 2 times 180 is 360. So I know that all of these are going to add up to equal 360. So that's what I'm going to do. 2x minus 12 plus 3x plus 2 plus x minus 10 plus x plus 30. And all that is equal to 360. Give yourself enough room. Now I'm going to combine like terms and solve for x. So 2x plus 3x plus x is 7x. And then negative 12 plus 2 minus 10 plus 30 is 10. And all that equals 360. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. That's 350 equals 7x. Divide both sides by 7. And I'm going to get x equals 50. And it told me to find x, and I did, so that's my answer. X equals 50. Done. And make sure you show all your work. Okay, number 7. ABCD is a parallelogram, so that tells us it is a parallelogram, with the measure of angle A is 138, so find the measure of angle B. Well, if it's a parallelogram, it's a 4-sided shape, and it's in the order ABCD, so no matter where A is, B is going to be next to it, right? So if A is here, and it's 138 degrees, the angle next to it is going to be supplementary to that. The angle across from it will be the same. The angle next to it will be supplementary. So 138 plus what equals 180? 180 minus 138 equals, well, 180 minus 130 is 50, and 50 minus 8 is 42. So 42 degrees. Angle B equals 42 degrees. You got to kind of think through what your parallelogram looks like. Determine whether ABCD is a parallelogram if AB is 6, BC is 12, CD is 6, and DA is 12. Well, I've got 2 sets of sides that are the same measure, right? And in a parallelogram, both pairs of opposite sides have to be congruent. If both pairs of opposite sides are congruent, then we know it's a parallelogram. So we just need to make sure that the congruent sides are opposite each other and not right next to each other. So here's my 4-sided shape, ABCD, A, B, C, D, write them in order. AB is 6, BC is 12, CD is 6, and DA is 12. So yes, the sides opposite each other are congruent to each other. So yes, this is a parallelogram. So we'll say yes. Both sets of opposite sides are congruent. Both, I'll say pairs, both pairs of op sides are congruent. Just abbreviate. That was one of our rules we learned. Almost done, 2 more. Number 9. We have this nice little handy-dandy picture they drew us. In parallelogram MLKJ, find the measure of MLK and the measure of LKJ. All right, so what does it show us here? We got to kind of zoom in a little bit to see what we're looking at. It shows us that this angle right here is 18 degrees, right? This guy right here on top. Fantastic. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? How does that help me find the measure of MLK, this entire angle? Well, if this is a parallelogram, which it told me it was, then I know both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. And when I have parallel lines cut by a transversal, I know alternate interior angles are congruent. So this top angle is going to be the same size as this bottom angle. So if this is 18, then this guy's 18, right? And this top angle is 12. Mark it with 2 little guys here. And so the opposite, the alternate interior angle is this bottom angle here. That's also 12, right? So for this angle up here, it's made up of a 12-degree angle and an 18-degree angle, which tells me that it's a 30-degree angle. So the measure of angle MLK, this entire thing, MLK is 30 degrees. So in my answer key, I'm going to write that. All right, then the next one it asks me to find is this guy, LKJ, right? This angle right, I'll do it blue. This whole thing. All right, well, all I know about a parallelogram is that opposite angles are congruent and adjacent angles next to each other are supplementary. So if this guy's 30, this little guy, what would this one have to be for them to add up to 180? 150, right? So LKJ has to be 150 degrees. So the measure of angle LKJ has to equal 150. Just remember your rules of parallelograms. Opposite angles are congruent. Angles next to each other are supplementary. All right, and then the last problem, a little math involved here. XYWZ is a quadrilateral, 4 sides, with vertices at blah, 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 blah. Determine if the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Use slope to justify your answer. So there's different ways we can figure out if a shape is a parallelogram. We could figure out if both pairs of opposite sides are the same length using distance formula, or we can figure out if opposite sides are parallel using the slope formula, right? So I'm gonna pick a side. So X, Y, W, Z. First I'm gonna kind of sketch one out so I know what the sides are. X, Y, W, Z. Okay, so I know if I want to find the slope of x, y, I'm going to start there. Slope formula is y minus y over x minus x. So here's x, here's y minus y, 2 minus negative 1, over x minus x, negative 4 minus 1, right? Minus a negative becomes a plus. That's 3 on top. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5 on the bottom. So the slope of that line is negative 3/5, right? So if this is a parallelogram, then this side down here has to have the same slope, ZW. So now I want to find the slope of ZW. Okay, so up here it's the other 2 points. So I'm going to use y minus y, negative 3 minus negative 4, over x minus x. Can you see me? Yeah. Negative 2 minus 1. Negative 3 minus negative 4 becomes negative 3 plus 4, which is just 1. And negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Is negative 1/3 the same as negative 3/5? No. So these opposite sides are not parallel. And to be a parallelogram, both pairs of opposite sides have to be parallel. Right? If you found the slope of y, what is this, yw and xz, you will find that they are also not parallel. So this is not a parallelogram. It says, determine if it's a parallelogram. We'll say no, and then side x, y is not parallel to zw. They are not parallel to each other. All right, if you have questions on any of that, let me know.